Welcome to this episode of Trojan Poetry. This week I've chosen the poem and John has not seen it yet. He's going to help me to figure out what this is all about. And our poem this week is entitled The Joy Addict by James Harms. And I read, whales fall slowly to the ocean floor after dying and feed the vertical nation for years. Like Christ who feeds us still, they say, though I don't know. But imagine it, fish chasing through the bones or nibbling what's left, the whale when it finally touches bottom, an empty church. Forget all that, it's intended to soften the skin, like apricot seeds or mud, or boredom. The drift of worlds in a given day can turn a telephone to porcelain, open graves in the sidewalk. So that who knows why thinking about thinking leads to new inventions of grace that never lead to, say, what to do with grandmother who is determined to live beyond her usefulness, which is fine, but why won't she relax and watch the sea with me? I wish someone would intrude on all this. People grow tired explaining themselves to mirrors, to clerks administering the awful perfume. I ask a Liberace lookalike, why do you dress that way? What way, he says, and he's right. Who taught us to bow our heads while waiting for trains, to touch lumber without regret and sing privately or not at all, to invest the season with forgiveness and coax from it a hopeful omen? Lord knows the hope would heal this little fear. But who taught us to fear? Soon branches crackle in the windy heat like something cooking too quickly, dogwood lathering the empty woods, and everyone looking for a commitment of permanence from summer, from someone else. Two deer the color of corn disappear into an empty field, and I wait beside the road for them to move. I want to see them again. All right, this must be a good one. If John has no words to say yet.
I'm addicted to joy.
You are.
Joy Behar.
Hey, you'll be
Why
here all
doesn't she
week,
make
right?
an appearance? Everything else does. Oh, man.
All right, so where do we start, John? What did you latch on to as we were going through that?
Well, I thought I was pretty good in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
No, I didn't. Maybe the first quarter. All right, the forget all that was what I immediately, I was like, okay, there's going to be a turn. Forget all that. It's intended to soften the skin. Mm-hmm. But I was like, why? Like, what is intended to soften the skin? So I immediately started getting confused about the pronouns.
Yeah, what's the it's?
Then I got even more confused with the telephone to the porcelain, the open graves in the sidewalk. Then the grandmother, I thought that was nice. Like, okay, she wants to be useful, live beyond her usefulness. And then it just became a list, kind of like a crazy list, until the hopeful omen. I kind of latched on to the idea of hope. And then the deer and him wanting to see the deer again, maybe as a sign of hope, and latching on to permanence. So there were like emotions I could latch on to, but I can't figure out, or I haven't been able to figure out what the items or the things have to do with the emotions.
Right, or with each other.
Right.
Really, you know,
or joy, or being addicted.
Right. Or being addicted.
Right, so pretty much the whole thing.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
At least you're honest. That's good.
Right.
Well, I thought, I felt the same way. And in fact, it's funny because we were talking about this before we started taping here, and the way it's written in this book that I got it out of, it stops about halfway through, and I thought, okay, that's the end of the poem. And then I turned it over and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no, there's more for me to figure out here, but in a good way. I shouldn't say oh no, but
sure.
this is I would say this is definitely difficult the first several times through, but I did latch on to the religious imagery. So when I read through it again, it talks about like Christ who feeds us still, fish chasing through the bones or nibbling what's left, the whale, right? So the fish is a Christian symbol. And then it continues down through turning a telephone to porcelain, maybe making communication fragile, making things pale and different from what they are. And then on the back, I thought the section where it says, who taught us to invest the season with forgiveness and coax from it a hopeful omen. And it says, Lord knows the hope would heal this little fear. So I thought he was either referring to maybe Easter or Christmas, and that idea of hope also ties into the deer at the bottom, I think. He's waiting, he's hoping for permanence. He's hoping for this commitment and escape from summer, which fades he's hoping for someone else to help him. So I don't know. I thought
Yeah.
it was like a split between he's struggling with his religion and or he's worried about death.
Yeah, and when, like you said, he's looking for somebody with like the line there in the middle. I wish someone would intrude on all this.
Oh yes, yeah, that was the other
Right,
thing. I
like
thought
that's-
that was kind of the turn. Maybe
That's like the dead center of the poem.
Yeah.
And we found that tends to be important.
right.
And he's tired of explaining himself, and he's tired of thinking, and he's tired of impermanence, and he's tired of not having hope, and being confused about religion, maybe. And the one thing that seems to maybe, well, and he wants permanence, right? There he says everyone's looking for a commitment of permanence from someone else, and then the two deer kind of become the hopeful omen. Right, because they're two deer, right? They're together,
Yes,
they're traveling together.
relationship together.
Right.
I thought the description was interesting. The color of corn.
Yeah.
So was that like yellow corn or like the
Yeah, Indian corn,
yeah,
or
right.
whatever
It's like
called.
brown
yeah.
and multicolored.
Yeah, and I wait by the road for them to move. I want to see them again.
That's Native American corn, by the way.
Thank you. Two deer, the color of corn, disappear into an empty field, and I wait beside the road for them to move. So they disappear into the empty field, and then I wait beside the road for them to move. But they've already moved, so I don't get it.
Right, they disappear into the field. Maybe it's a field, with
Because he wants to.
Tall-
because they're like
tall
camouflage.
grass, yeah, or corn
Right,
or
right,
something.
right.
So
Okay.
in order to see them, they need to move again.
Right.
I think hopefully we've kind of hooked into something solid with that. The one thing that still I have no idea about is the Liberace look-alike.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that was the most
Which-
obvious part. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay. Which kind of, just like tone-wise, it just comes in out of
Yeah.
left field. Liberace.
Yeah.
If you remember him, was just this over-the-top guy who wore those crazy, bedazzled like jumpsuits or whatever.
Right. Lots of long flowing robes.
Yeah, right, the
Yeah,
capes
very
and stuff.
glittery. Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that's what he wants. He wants. Why do you dress that way? What way? He says, and he's right. So basically, like, don't worry about what other people think. Be yourself.
Well, and like, how do you define that? Like, it's just like, that's just how he dresses. Like,
Yeah.
like,
And
don't,
right?
yeah.
He's like, so what? Which is very kind of I don't know, maybe relieving to the speaker, or he gets a sense of freedom from that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it's a very confused narrator, right? Seeming to look for some kind of connection, somebody to intrude, maybe to stop him from thinking.
Yeah, too many things going around and around in
Right.
his head.
He's tired of explaining himself to mirrors. Right? Yeah, it seems like the whole world is nothing but a giant confusion. But then why would it be called the Joy Addict?
That's a good question. That's what I
That's
was wondering.
confusing.
Right. Is that sarcastic?
Yeah.
Or is it that the deer at the end give him joy, and so he feels like he's addicted to.
He keeps looking for
Yeah, he
joy
keeps
to
looking-
keep him going.
Oh,
like
he's
it's a
addicted
like,
to trying to get joy
Yeah.
to keep his life interesting, or to
Because he tries to imagine that the whale is a good thing, and that Christ is a good thing, right? And that his grandmother who wants to live is a good thing, and Liberace look like is a good thing, right?
right.
Like he's constantly looking for some quote unquote hopeful omen.
Yeah, the power of positive thinking, right?
Lord knows the hope would heal this little fear. It's not a little fear, right? Like he's trying to
Seems
downplay.
pretty existential to me. Existential to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought this was very interesting because I was so confused the first time I read it, and there's so much mashed in here. I mean, you could pretty much take any couple of lines and find some different meaning in there, or a different image at least.
All right, well, this actually is very similar to the poem we're going to do next. So
Aha.
stay tuned for next week.
Next episode.
Totally different thing going on, but kind of similar.
All right, thanks for watching. Please join the conversation in the comments on YouTube or on Twitter at Trojan Poetry DGN. Also, check out our website at trojanpoetrydgn.blogspot.com.